for being here, girl. I'm so excited.
You're welcome.
All right, so here's the official intro, you guys. She is the author of Be Kind and Take No Shit. And yes, I really was looking forward to saying that last part. A Woman's Guide to Balance, Power, and Joy. And she is also the owner of Be Well Services and provides mindfulness meditation as well as distance Reiki, among other many things. So Heather, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So tell everybody a little bit about how you got into all of this work. Like what led to the inspiration for Be Kind and Take No Shit?
Well, there were a few things going on. I mean, I'm a feminist. I support women, and I think that it's our job to support each other and hold each other up. I've done a lot of work both in the private sector, in the corporate world, the nonprofit world. So I have this business side, but while I was in the private sector and the nonprofit world, I was also in the spiritual world, and I've been practicing mindfulness meditation for over 20 years. I've been doing energy work for about 20 years. I'm a Reiki master. So I wanted to bring these experiences together in service of other women for a higher level goal of bringing more balance to the world so that women can be more in their authentic power and step up and be in more leadership positions in the world, that sort of thing. But come from a heart-centered power as opposed to an ego-centered power. I call it the will of the heart versus the will of the ego. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And one of the biggest things that's come up, right, quite a bit right now is just that desire to feel grounded and that desire to feel connected to something, right? Connected to yourself amidst all of the things that are happening in the world. And I polled the ladies in this group, and one of the big things that came out was, we want mindset tips on how to stay in balance. And so I thought, what better guest to have than Heather? And she's a Taurus, you guys. They're all like up into astrology, so I know they'll appreciate that. So she's as grounded as it gets. And what are some tips that you can offer folks who maybe feel a little bit scattered, feel overwhelmed right now? They might be sharing space with a lot of people and feeling like they just need to get some kind of support. What can help us?
Right. Well, when you told me about what some of your ladies have said their needs are, I went back to my book and I plucked the 3 juiciest pieces that I thought would be supportive to them. So I'm going to talk briefly about 3 things.
Love it.
Okay. First, I'm going to talk about mindfulness meditation. And so that's one of my chapters. One of my chapters is on meditation. The tendency for people, women tend to be givers, scattered, demands are on them at all time, very often at least. And the programming in Western society is that we try to fill our space with as much as possible, whether it's buying goods, whether it's watching Netflix. I mean, there's nothing wrong with watching Netflix, but you're just constantly, being in front of the computer, filling up space. So the programming is to buy things, fill up space, fill up our heads, and then also to react immediately to external stimuli. You have deadlines. You have to meet the deadlines immediately, that sort of thing, very task-oriented. Okay, so here you have our baseline programming, which is very stressful and scattered. Mindfulness meditation is the opposite of that. So I call it somewhat of an intervention, where you stop what you're doing and you try to slow things down and create more space. So you can process information and look at boundaries. I'll talk a little bit about boundaries in a minute.
Yay.
But yay.
Boundaries are a hot
So
topic.
they are, especially for women. So mindfulness meditation can be as easy as just pausing, just stopping what you're doing for 3 long, deep breaths. That's it.
Doing it right now.
So, yeah. And if you're unable to stop what you're doing, just breathe within an activity that you're doing. If you're driving and you're feeling stressed, you keep your eyes open. You don't want to close them while you're driving. You keep your eyes open. You take 3 deep breaths in the experience, and you hold that experience with kind awareness. Okay? So focus on the breathing. It can be as short as 3 breaths. Hold your present experience with kind awareness. So those are the big ones to take away with the mindfulness. Another chapter in my book is about boundaries. It's called Get Yourself Some Boundaries.
I love that chapter, man.
Right. Okay. So the tendency for women is to define our value by how much we can give to others and how productive we are. Right. So there's this kind of merging between ourselves and others, and this can create dysfunctional relationships, codependence. And then if we are not able to be that superhuman, then we can kind of turn on ourselves and become very self-critical and judgmental and so forth. So
we're getting some thumbs up on that, Heather. Keep the interaction going, you guys. Feel free to give us hearts if something's resonating.
So the boundaries piece is really, really important. And so in terms of tips about how to access your boundaries, the first thing is to identify where your boundary is, because sometimes you don't know. A good place to start is with the mindfulness, slowing down. So you may feel an immediate desire to react or respond to a request. Someone tells you they need something and you think, oh my God, I have to help this person immediately. Well, what you can do is just stop. You don't have to respond to people immediately. Take a few breaths. Take a day, take 2 days if you need to, if it's something bigger, and create more space and time so you can see where your needs are versus where that person's needs are. So that's one thing you can do. We talked about the breathing, the pause.
So actually, can I just interject on the boundaries?
Please, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
So what would you say helps, right? If you are used to setting no boundaries, you're kind of almost built an identity around just the helper, right? The rescuer, the helper. Like, how do you deal with the aftermath of when you start to set boundaries and people in your life don't like it? Like, can you give any insight on that?
You just keep holding that experience with kind awareness. So you go back to the mindfulness each time. So you look at, let's say someone's angry at you because you haven't done what they wanted you to. And then you think, okay, what's happening right now? And you look at the person's behavior and then you do what's called a U-turn. In mindfulness, we call it the U-turn. So then you look at yourself and how you're reacting. And then you can see, it gives you perspective. Okay, I feel really badly that I didn't help that person and they're making, I'm feeling badly because they're angry with me. Oh, what is that about? And you breathe, and then you create more space, you get more information, and then what you'll probably see is, oh, I might need them to need me. Like, what's going on here? This is interesting, but always holding it with kindness and curiosity. And then it might be, oh, I'm a little codependent, or maybe you want to have thicker boundaries with a person. Maybe the insight is, this person is not asking me to do something that I feel comfortable with. Right. And they're getting angry with me because I'm not doing it. That's probably maybe a bad thing, and I need to create more space with that person. So it's all about just being with what is there, holding it with kindness, and then stepping back and seeing what else comes up for you.
I love that. Thank you. So mindfulness, search of the breath, and just an awareness of what you're feeling, what's going on around you. And then boundaries, I think, are an ever unfolding practice. Awesome. Let's go to tip number 3.
Okay, tip number 3 is about practicing kindness and love towards yourself on a daily basis. There's a chapter called Love is a Practice. Practice it. I talk about love as a verb, as an action item, because love as a feeling can come and go, but whatever you practice becomes stronger. So if you practice loving kindness towards yourself, that only becomes stronger in your life. And you can do a number of things, but at least one kind, loving thing that brings you joy each day. So that can be, oh, I did a really good job on this. So you can kind of pat yourself on the back. If you do something kind for someone else, you can thank yourself, even if they don't thank you. Another thing you can do, especially if you like journaling, is write down all of the things that you've always wanted someone else to say about you.
Oh, I love that. I never heard
And
of
then
that.
just keep
Yes.
and just keep adding to that list, so that at least you're reflecting back those traits that you value.
That's so awesome. So what would you say is the biggest block to loving yourself?
I would say being disconnected from yourself, being harsh and judgmental, buying into external messaging about women. Maybe your family has high expectations of you, and if you don't meet all of their expectations, you could get backlash about that. So that's why the centering, the mindfulness is so important, and the being kind to yourself is so important. And do something fun. Like another thing, like it's not just the complimenting, etc., but have a cup of tea, take a walk, talk to friends that make you laugh. Just do one thing at least that brings you joy,
And I think that's a commitment too. Like often we see that as like we're being indulgent or we're being I don't know, like it's just not part of our everyday experience, but the more that you can incorporate it, the easier it gets. And if you guys haven't checked out the book, you can find it on Heather's website, which is bewellservices.com, right?
.net. .net.
Okay, bewellservices.net. And it's also on Amazon. And I had the pleasure of editing it. So I can say, I got firsthand kind of a healing as I was working on this, which is really, really cool. And let's open it up for questions. Do you guys have any questions for Heather? Anything that you want to, get clarification on? Go ahead and pop it into the comments. And while we're waiting for those to come in, Heather, can you also share a little bit about what the energy work that you do and how that kind of pairs with the balance and all of that?
Let's see. The energy work that I do personally is I do a lot of Reiki and self Reiki, and I do Reiki for others as well. And it's the type of Reiki that I practice has to do with the 7 main chakras. And the thought there is that when someone is balanced, they are healthy. When their energy centers are balanced, they're healthy and happier, or healthier and happier. And when they're out of balance, that's when people have anxiety, stress, discomfort, sickness, illness, that sort of thing. So it's all about bringing the body back into balance.
I love that.
And giving the body strength to heal itself.
I'm just putting the site in the comments in case they want to check it out. Yay! All right. So we don't have any questions at the moment. There might be some from people that check out the replay, because we've got people popping in at all times here. Oh, you're getting lots of hearts from Nita.
Aw, that's sweet.
Thanks, ladies. I love it. And Nivdita. Nivdita and Nita. It's so fun to say.
So cute. Yeah, and I have a contact form on my website too.
So feel free to message Heather. And, if you want to get some Reiki done for yourself, or you have questions about what we talked about and just want to ask her a question, check it out. Thank you so much for being here,
Yeah.
Goddess.
Yeah.